Where's the intro at?
Here we go.
Yeah, you got to scroll for that one.
I'll drive over to your house right now.
Welcome to a special collaboration between Beyond the Radar and the Nerd Informer. Welcome to a special collaboration between Beyond the Radar and the Nerd Informer podcast. Get ready to embark on an extraordinary journey across America as we uncover 50 UFO stories from all over the 50 states. From the brush of Arizona to the forests of Maine, each episode plunges deep into the most compelling and mysterious unidentified flying encounters ever recorded. Join us as we explore eyewitness accounts, government files, and expert analysis that will leave you questioning what you thought you knew about the skies above. Only on the Oracle Talk Radio Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh, are you excited to do this again? Me too. I'm having a blast. Hello, everyone out there, live in the radio space, listening to us on our lovely Oracle Talk Radio Network, and everyone else on our streaming destinations. Hello, video-wise. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hopefully, some climate challenges over the past week, and I hope everyone's safe, sound, happy, warm, and ready to hear about 12 new UFO stories from 12 states. Last week, if you missed us, we introduced this concept, a special 6-week countdown to Halloween, where we go through each state and tell a different UFO story. Some you might have heard, some you might not have heard, but either way, they're very interesting and a way to connect us all and talk about creepy, spooky stuff with a special wink towards Halloween countdown. So, as I was last week, I should say, I'm joined by Ian Herling and Tyler Johnson from the Nerd Informer. Obviously, you know me, Tom Conway, as host of Beyond the Radar. Let me start with you, Ian. Ian, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be here and ready to tell some stories.
Absolutely. Tyler?
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, we got cut off short last time, but I mean, we just want to dive deep into it and get into some of these stories. It'd be fun.
Absolutely.
We say 12, but we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I even tempered expectations because it was supposed to be 15. So I went down and said, "Hey, we did it last week. We'll do it this week." You know how that works.
We know how nature takes its course.
Nicole, very nice to see you. How are you doing?
Nicole's here.
Yeah, Nicole's here.
How's it going?
A little shout out to Nicole. She has a guest tonight, 10 o'clock, Mystic Whispers podcast. Timothy Williams, I believe his name is, and he is a artist. He's a painter, and awesome. He has a special hidden Bigfoot painting series, I believe, where there's hidden Bigfoot in his paintings.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, he is a very good artist. Now, I'll be honest. I was like, okay, when I heard about that, I was like, that might be hokey or whatever. I checked out his paintings. He's a really, really good painter.
Is it like, let's just say, is it like Where's Waldo, but where's Bigfoot, and you can't find him, and you want to like search for it?
The ones that I looked at, I couldn't find him. So, but stay tuned for Nicole coming up at 10 o'clock for that one. But let's learn from last week and jump right in to the stories. Ian, you want to kick us off? Where are we headed to?
We're going to Utah.
Utah, the Utes.
Utes.
And Utes. There it is.
So the obvious choice would be Skinwalker Ranch, but
yes,
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I refuse. It fought me. It was tough, but I said I'm going a different direction.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing. We are going to talk about what happened to Don Anderson's son in 1984.
I like it.
Old Johnny.
All right. So they came for Don Anderson's son in 1984. It was 11 p.m. on a June evening in Mapleton, Utah, when 25-year-old Anderson shut off the TV in his bedroom of his mother's basement where he was staying. He glanced down at his 4-year-old son, who sat on the edge of the mattress on the floor playing with the truck. Suddenly, he noticed a gray alien floating in the middle of the room.
Oh, shit.
We looked at each other. He pointed to my son as if he were asking to take him, Anderson recalls. He returned the alien's gaze and telepathically communicated, "Okay, let me go with him. If I go with him, he won't be afraid." Now that seems a little, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a little level-headed for an alien in your room at
floating
nowhere.
I know that's very practical.
That's very practical. I mean, I would want to go for sure.
UFO came in.
Yeah. So
So
just appeared floating in his room?
Yeah, he just appeared floating in the middle of the room, just hanging out. I guess he was watching TV and turned the TV off, and he's like, "Bro, I was watching that." So he says a ray of blue iridescent light shot through the room. He took his son by the hand. They jumped into the light ray and followed the gray alien across the basement, through the wall, and upward through the ground to the grass outside. In an interview with Ron Johnson, Anderson says they moved towards a huge saucer-shaped spacecraft across the street that hovered 60 feet in the air. It was 30 feet across with red and blue lights that strobed through the neighborhood, flashing off the houses in the area. He recalled, he wondered why no one in the neighborhood was waking up to notice the ship. It was deadly quiet. There were no dogs barking, crickets chirping. All I could hear was a hum of the ship. That's interesting that he heard a noise. Usually they say they don't hear.
Yeah.
They usually don't hear anything.
No, that's a good point. You really don't hear too many where they're like, "Oh yeah, I heard it."
Yeah.
I mentioned last week it was the Dodge Neon of, that's what they were.
There were blue lights this time again, so we got that.
It's
he says the vibration. He says that as he, his son, and the gray alien traveled upward to the bottom of the ship, they felt the tingling sensation as they passed through telephone wires. He then remembers walking around the polished interior of the ship. Everything was metal and really shiny, like it was made from stainless steel. I was walking on a cushy black catwalk. Anderson and a tall blonde woman who seemed somehow familiar to him walked and communicated telepathically with each other. After he asked her if she could heal a serious stomach disorder he was currently experiencing, he heard her laugh. The moment her eyes caught mine, it was like she said, "Don't worry, you will be okay."
That's interesting.
I don't know. Maybe there's a hot blonde alien.
I haven't heard a story like that.
So he goes on. He did another interview, and it said Anderson then saw his son and another boy through the arched doorway. They stood beneath a metal column, holding what looked like a handheld shower massager. The son grabbed it from the kid he just met and put it above his own head. Blue volts of what looked like electricity shot over his body. He cracked up and thought that was really funny. I watched him each use that about 3 times. I think the aliens took me there so that my son would know I was around and not to be frightened, and I knew that he would be safe.
That's very detailed in an odd way.
A little, yeah.
Like not in a bad way.
Detailed.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Instead of telling your story, you're trying to convince people of your story.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, a little bit.
They're right on par though with, I gotta say again, the blue lights, red and blue. It's like it seems like it's shifted from 60s to 80s to red and blue. And
he goes into pretty good detail, and then he continues. Before long, Anderson was back in the front room of his mother's house. The screen door was open, and I could look through and see the ship hovering and whirling outside. He says the room was also filled with elderly strangers he had never seen before. They stood motionless like they were in a coma. We were all sitting there watching and listening to the sound of this flying saucer across the street. He looked at the clock, and it was 6 a.m. I sprang out of bed and thought, whoa.
So the one thing that resonates with me in hearing this before, or hearing this part in other cases, is the bunch of elderly people that were in his living room right there.
Yeah.
Odds are that, if an alien UFO extraterrestrial comes right to you in their full form, you are going to be terrified, and you're probably not going to want to do what it wants to say. So there's a thought that it can take on a form that is recognizable to you. This may be animals like the great white owls
and less threatening.
Alaska. Many of those are aliens. Yeah,
sure.
And this this might be, maybe they were a nurse, maybe they worked in a hospital, maybe it was something that they were around a lot of old people. So being around them, the aliens at least thought wouldn't be a big deal. But middle of the night, stranger, elderly people in your room, that's just as creepy.
That's pretty. I'd
I'd
rather go to the UFO.
Me too.
Yeah.
At that
And
point, I'm thinking,
like
oh shit, that's a cult.
Yeah. It's almost like a gag that they can do the 90% of convincing us that they're people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, certain things like, why would elderly people be in my house at midnight or late at night? Another one is maybe eyes are too close together, ears are too low on the head, ears are too high on the head. You know what I mean? No missing eyebrows, slits instead of noses. You know what I mean? There's all these things that are common in people saying, I think it was a UFO. It was a very odd person. You know what I mean? After a sighting, a sighting. So maybe, that, at least that part, I can buy is happening in UFO stories.
Yeah. I could see it.
So that's Utah.
That's Utah.
That's a cool one. I've never heard of it. So
yeah. And I can't wait for us, on a side note, to get out to Utah. Especially with this network. I can't wait.
I'm dying.
Yeah,
it's killing me. Just wait.
It's gonna be awesome. Okay. I'm going to head us on over to Ohio. All right. So Ohio has a wonderful case or a claim in 1973 of a cigar-shaped craft coming into Ohio airspace. And I'm going to go ahead and just put this on so people know what I'm talking, because there actually was a drawing with this one. When they say cigar, this guy drew a literal cigar with a saucer on top of it.
Yeah.
So just to let people know what we were dealing with there. So in October 1973.
Looks like I drew it.
Yeah. I couldn't even do that good. October 1973, PJ Vollmer, who is the chief of operations for the FAA at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, received a visit from Lawrence Coyne, a police officer who was also Army active duty veteran and still in the reserves. Coyne said that he had saw a cigar-shaped craft flying the speed of a jet fighter and caught up to the helicopter he was in, seemingly dragging it to higher air as green lights scanned all throughout the inside. Just as suddenly as that encounter happened, it was over. Coyne said, "We felt a bounce. Then the other craft took off to the northeast. With added urgency, the helicopter returned immediately to Cleveland, and Coyne looked for anyone, and he found, great person to find, the chief of operations for the FAA at the Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. In a case of this kind, I don't know anybody that I would believe more. In a stunning revelation from Vollmer, I trust his judgment without question of a doubt. I don't know what happened, but I do know, and I could tell from the tremors of his voice that he was shook." John Healy, who was who was on the helicopter that night of 1973, as well as a police officer, a detective in Cleveland, recounted the same story a colleague the same day Coyne was telling Vollmer about it. It scared the living hell out of me, who, like Coyne, had been a UFO skeptic right up until that encounter. Eventually, Coyne told his story to a reporter for the Plain Dealer. That's a boring name. He told to the Twilight Zone creator Rod Serling for a documentary. And he also talked to talk show host Dick Cavett and appeared before the United Nations. The Coyne incident has become known in the UFO community and remains one of the most credible accounts of human encounters with a UFO, but it's still as mysterious as it was a half century ago.
Wow.
So, 1973, right? Let's start there. It's 1973.
Yeah.
In lieu of cameras, phones, things like that, you had credibility. And apparently this guy's credibility, from all reports that we just heard, was above reproach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. in the FAA. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, you have to kind of believe those kind of people that are seeing this.
he believed he saw what he saw.
Yeah,
it didn't mean to say whether he believed there was a UFO, but he believes that he saw what he saw.
See, that's an important distinction that when I hear about these stories, is I don't know what people see, and it goes with Bigfoot, it goes with aliens, it goes with UFOs, whatever. Like the best stories are the ones that you can tell people believe they saw something. You know what I mean? They believe what they saw. Now you don't know what it is. Maybe they were mistaken.
Yeah,
but they believe it. Like there's a serious belief that they absolutely saw what they saw, and those are the best stories because
I agree.
It lends credibility to it when you can be that passionate about it.
To that, making you saying what he believes instead of making you try to believe what he saw is a whole difference. It's nice. They're not trying to convince you. I mean, he's going to go down to his deathbed believing what he saw and not trying to convince people of it. It's really nice.
Yeah. And
like the last story, it seems.
Yeah. One quick thing that I want to touch on too is when you get a position of power or a statement from somebody in position of power, COO of the FAA in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Wright Patterson's right there. You have somebody in power. They toe the line and say, oh, we'll make every effort to investigate. They'll do something like that. For him to come out, now it could be a sign of the times. Maybe they wouldn't do that now. But for him to come out in 1973 and say, no, I do believe him. He saw what he saw.
Yeah.
I wish we would have that kind of balls. Does that make sense? Balls nowadays for somebody to come out and say that. So I did really like that a government official.
Yeah, considering the time period, I mean that's a big deal. Like back then you didn't say you saw nothing. Like they still had loony bins. They still had loony bins back then. You know what I mean?
Sent away.
Yeah, like you had to be much more careful than you have to be today. Like now you can be as crazy as you want, and people are like, oh, whatever. Like the guy's a nut.
And then you get a show on Oracle Talk Radio Network.
That's exactly it.
That's how I got here. I don't know how.
Real quick about the loony bins. They were still operational up until very, very recently. Do your research on some of the latest.
I'd want to know the last one.
Yeah. I know they're. I mean, I want to say up until 80s, 90s, and you think this all happened in the 30s. No, people were still put away not that long ago.
Well, that and like the ones that were really extreme and how they treated people. I've seen like documentaries and just stories about them. Like, yeesh. I'm like, they weren't.
It wasn't any place. Yeah,
no, and like the people that were working there. I mean, actually, me and Ian and I watched a documentary about about people that like kids were taken away that were like, I would say behavioral disorders in a way, but not. Yeah. And their parents just sent them. What was that called? We both watched it.
I don't know.
It's on Netflix. I'll find out and I'll mention it on our next podcast. Even the workers are doing the interviews saying how bad they had to treat them. And I mean, kids were, it was horrible. And this was like in the last 4 years, I think.
Well, there was the one story where the guy sent his daughter away, and he says that he legit didn't know what it was. He thought it was like a summer camp or something. The way it was presented to him, and this girl just gets abused to no end. I mean, just terrible.
They all all the workers left all the paperwork, everything they did. There's even camera of the teachers beating the crap out of these people, kids, and there's camera footage of it. And they just all went their separate ways, and they got some of the people that worked there on camera for this documentary. And
imagine what it's like working in a place like that. You have to deal with crazy all day long. There's no reprieve. Everybody there has serious psychological issues from them seeing things and just randomly screaming and punching you and just all kinds of crazy stuff that you have to deal with. That would break people. You know what I mean? I get it.
And you'd have to treat everyone the same and not one person different because you have to think they're all crazy. When half of them probably aren't. They just were abandoned.
And how can you not bring that home with you? Because it is a job.
Exactly.
Exactly. All right, Tyler, where are we going?
Where we left off, we're going to go to Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
I had to pick out some short ones just in case, but yeah, this one is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It says it was in the late 90s. This one was. It says, according to Lewis, people in downtown Milwaukee reported seeing large, quick-moving unknown objects from 1896 to 1897. So I think there was a miss. They said late 90s, but they put 1897. Yeah, so I'm guessing 1986 to 1987. People could then follow the airship city to city by reading newspapers that covered it from Milwaukee to Chicago. They could see this. It says, it's 1896. That's really far, though. So 1897, the U.S. had the largest UFO, I said, flap in America's history, says Lewis. Thousands of people in hundreds of Midwestern cities saw the giant airships, as they were called to people from Milwaukee, to were no different. That's how they word it. It's really weird. It says it wasn't as though somebody was flying a kite or a misidentification of a star. It's weird how they worded it, but or a planet, or an embellishment or a hoax. Lewis said there was something there, but no one knew what it was, and no one could agree upon it. It says, well, in the sighting of I guess there's 9 saucer-shaped objects took place, and now it went to Washington State. Lewis said that the event influenced modern concepts of UFOs and people in Wisconsin and around the county. It says the Kenneth Arnold sighting really set the UFO on fire. One we got the term flying saucer from. Yep. But it says, but also here, this credible trained observer, a pilot, talking about what he saw in the technical terms, scientific terms of speed, distance, and estimates. Lewis said, and I think it gave the general public a wide belief that maybe something is out there. Says, and that's basically the short story that I was given. I was trying to find some cool things on Milwaukee, but
nothing cool happens in Milwaukee.
I don't ever hear of anything happening in Wisconsin. So that's like the only thing I could really pull that was like, it's a little different, but short story.
A little different. Well, what are we talking about miles wise? And I know you know the Chicago area from Milwaukee to Chicago. What are we talking distance wise?
Milwaukee? I mean, Milwaukee to Chicago would probably take me, I've been there in so long, but probably an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay. So
depends.
Multiple towns then in between those two cities.
Yeah.
So when they were following it from newspaper to newspaper,
that's insane. Yeah.
It's quite a trip.
That's an
multiple counties. Yeah. Because I lived on the fine line of Wisconsin and Illinois. So I lived in, I would say, McHenry County is where I lived. And then it was about I'd say a 40-minute drive to Chicago, unless I take the train. And then I'm right on the border of Wisconsin. So, and Milwaukee's not too far from that border. Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, it's quite a bit.
So Milwaukee, yeah, you really don't have that many. And I guess, with doing 50 states and all of the UFO stories, just some are not going to be as much. But I would think that one would have a little more, just people-wise. But I guess if it's farm, because I'm thinking like the northern farmland, not a lot of cities, you could see how UFOs would be more there. You know what I mean? If they just don't want to be seen. So
major cities in Wisconsin. I mean, Milwaukee. You got Racine, Wisconsin Dells. There's a couple, but I can't think of any like other major cities around there. But
if you're in Wisconsin and listening to us, hop in the comments. Send us a message. Let us know of one if we're missing any. We'd love to take a look. And we could always go on the National UFO Reporting Center, MUFON, those type of things to check them out. But, those sometimes can be not verified, but sometimes they have media. So it's pretty cool too. The drone one I showed you guys.
Yeah.
That was wicked. All right. So Wisconsin. Fun. Ian, where are we heading?
We are going to Oregon.
Oregon.
Oregon. How do you say
Oregon?
I'm Oregon, but
Oregon.
Oregon. I don't know. I call it Oregon.
I said I would put these in alphabetical order, and I didn't.
Right below Washington.
Yeah, but I haven't spelled out.
I know
made
where
it fancy. Look at that one. That I'm gonna have a beef. I'm gonna have hate mail from Oregon. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my God.
I'm trying to piss off people from all 50 states and see how many we can get.
Yeah.
That's my goal. So this story is a personal story from a young lady, and then there's also a bunch of stuff just about Oregon. Is that better? Everybody happy with that? Oregon?
I'm all right with that. I'm happy.
Yeah.
The young lady's name is Mackenzie. Ooh, that's a tough one. Gerdes. Gerdes. In the fall of 2020, I was driving with my family through Forest Grove, Oregon, when I saw what might have been an extraterrestrial aircraft in the sky. Above in the picture I took with my iPhone, the sky is bright blue, green color, and the clouds are gathered over the coastal range. Upon further inspection, just above the telephone wire, there is a completely straight line, possibly beaming down from something behind the clouds. I cannot explain what this is, but it is certainly strange and perhaps even extraterrestrial. I wish I could put this picture up, but I don't know how to do that without causing mass havoc, I'm sure.
I'll have to come over there and show you.
And he just launched a nuclear.
Yep. I don't know what country that hit, but it's not going to be pretty.
Well, there it goes.
So
Christ,
the picture's not great. It's just, I don't know. All right, I'm going to move on with the rest of it. In the vast expansion of the universe, could extraterrestrials really exist? Quite a few Oregonians believe so, and they have stories and experiences to back up those claims. One of the most famous photographs ever taken of a UFO was shot at a farm outside of McMinnville, Oregon, in the summer of 1950. Farmers Evelyn and Paul Trent witnessed a circular metal spacecraft hovering above their property. Journalist Doug Perry for the Oregonian said Evelyn was the first to spot it, ran in to get her husband and the camera, and took the picture that would end up in the Oregon newspaper and eventually Life magazine. Well, that's kind of cool. It ended up in Life.
Yeah.
As for the validity of the sighting, extraterrestrial enthusiasts will be happy to know that the image above was examined by a renowned nuclear physicist at the time, Edward U. Condon. Perry said his physicist frequently disproved UFO sightings he significantly examined, but the Trent photograph was difficult to explain in a conventional way and reported by Condon himself. Between 2001 and 2015, Oregon had official reports of 3,013 UFO sightings.
Wow.
I mean, that's quite a bit.
That's a lot.
In 14 years, that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Brian Kosiak for KGW8. In addition, Kosiak said there were many reports in the 80s and 90s of Oregonians seeing strange lights, hearing unexplainable sounds, and finding crop circles on farmland with no roads leading to them. Oregonians and out-of-staters alike can indulge their fantasies with the extraterrestrial beings by visiting the famous annual McMinimus UFO Fest in McMinnville. This event first started in 1999 at
and annual.
I gotta start finding stories with better names. I'm gonna call him Bob.
I had to do it.
Hotel
today,
Oregon, to commemorate the Trent sighting and photographs. It involves a 3-day celebration with speakers and a parade, 5K run, and the landing party. Wait till I get to Hawaii. It's gonna be really terrible.
Yeah, there we go.
I did want to ask you about something. What are your thoughts on crop circles?
I was going to bring it up. I was totally going to do it. And that caught my mind. Like, we only ever saw it in a slight time period and it's gone.
Mm-hmm. You don't see him. You certainly don't see him anymore.
So I think, was it before M. Night Shyamalan made Signs that we saw them, or was it after? So was it? Does anyone know?
They went back
90s thing.
Yeah, it was definitely a 90s thing.
So, growing up, I of course had to search this. Like growing up, I'm like, where did they come from? And you could see some really cool videos of them. Like, it's totally like, I don't know how they did it back then of making them, and like it looked like a movie quality. But people will go out in the middle of the night and they have these certain tools that can actually go over like corn stalks and just bend them slightly. And they can, it's like I think like a couple college students did it.
Yeah. I saw, yeah. You're right.
I might have saw the same thing where it was basically like a string in the middle,
and like a rake they'd walk on that would just bend.
I think they used like a 2x4 with rope going through it.
It was something of that nature And the thing is, like, I'd want to believe it because they were really good designs. It's like that would trick a lot of people.
But some of them are so big, like without having
multiple people, like
without having a view from above. Higher up, how would you? Some of them are perfectly placed, perfectly spaced apart.
They are.
Like, it would be very hard to do, I think, without some eyes in the sky.
The only way they could do like a sphere perfectly is if you attach a string to the middle of the point of that sphere. And then walk in a circle where you don't snap that. Like, so it'd look from a distance, it looks perfect, but from up close, it probably doesn't look as good.
But you know how, you'll see like 8 or 10 of them and it'll just be, progressively smaller or progressively larger or whatever. Like the perfection of them, at least from a picture, I don't know how they look from the ground. It's like artwork. I mean, it's ridiculous how they do it.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
I wouldn't understand the purpose of an alien doing it. Necessarily.
I could only, I mean, you can't really, I would only see it's like a symbol of, what's to come, what's happened. You never know. It's past, future, or present. Like,
it could be that. It could also be an area for, if you were to indulge me in this, like the drone version of that, doing that land here. You know what I mean? Like, this one has the appropriate DNA that we need to get, whether it's the animals
like a tag, like they're tagging the area.
Okay. I like it. In that way, I can see how it would be a use for UFOs and things like that. But to get to progressively smaller and stuff, I mean, if you just cut that rope, all right, we're going to do a 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From far out.
And they have them perfectly in line. Perfect.
But let's look at it from the farmer point of view. That's an asset, the crops.
Yeah, you just destroyed my shit.
I'd be
pissed.
I don't know if the farmer was in on it. If it was, old corn, just stalks up after, if they were shucking by the old fashioned way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But no, every time you see it, it's lush, it's green, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just cost him probably thousands of dollars of
for
crop.
sure.
Oh yeah.
And they happen overnight. Like whoever does them they're very quick. They're very, they're in and out, they're quiet. No one's ever seen people do them. They happen a lot in the countryside and France and Italy and stuff like that. You'll see a lot of the UK. Yeah. You'll see a lot of them in that area. And I don't know if they just don't have good TV shows to watch, but
maybe Nicole says it's a calling card. It could be like graffiti,
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But some of them are so ornate and just done. They're so crazy. You're like, man, how could you do that in one night anyway?
3D, and I would love to know how with up parts, down parts, it creates an optical illusion, or of them going different ways.
Right.
Some of them are nuts. And if you've done a crop circle prank, send a message. We'll have you on and ask you how you did it.
Yeah, tell me how you did it.
And the time it took and how many people. Because you can't just have it like one person. There's a lot going on in that.
Yeah, because the more people, the more it would get ruined, I would think. Walking in there, walking out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you always see them from the air. So you never really get a good sense of what the ground looks like. Is it messy? Is it messy? Is there footprints everywhere? Like, you never really get that close in detail to them. All the ones I've ever seen.
Oh,
are
you're right. You're right. Did they ever actually search for footprints? Because there would be some. Because of like, and here's like, I don't know about you guys, but like when I grew up, like where I grew up, there's a lot of cornfields and we'd hunt and all that. And you can go through one aisle of corn. You don't have to like. They're separated by like 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
So you could have a foot trail. It's actually, I never even thought about it that way. Smart.
I don't know, but I kind of want to try one now.
The Skinwalker this year, next year, we'll go to join me on the radar and join me on the radar.
Can we get a GoFundMe started to go do crop?
UK to the nearest farm and try to piss off as many UK people as they did in the revolution.
Can we get a GoFundMe started to do crop circles in the UK?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we'll do a separate one for pounds for the bale.
That's it. Yeah,
that's it.
Or euros. I'm showing my age. Jesus.
Yeah. Oh my God.
All right, let's get back to the nonsense here. We're gonna go Midwest, and I looked back. I thought we did this one already, but we didn't. I did Kansas and Nebraska, but I did not do Oklahoma. So we are going to go to Oklahoma. Short one there. So this is Wynwood. This is Wynwood, Oklahoma. Saturday morning on July 31st, 1965. Officer Lewis Sykes of the Wynwood Police Department reported a sighting of a bright object in the sky a few miles northeast of town. He described it as having a bluish-green center with a rotating light circling in the midsection. The object abruptly rose into the night, where it hovered for a few minutes before it began to lose altitude again, then move off to the north. The sighting was also confirmed by the Murray County Sheriff's Office, and the Tinker Air Force Base picked up an unidentified blip on their radar scope. So yeah, this definitely was the 60s. At the same time as the Wynwood sighting, which means the object was tracked at an altitude of 8,000 feet. Until it disappeared from their screen approximately 15 miles southwest of Midwest City. It was later learned that Carswell's Army Air Force Base in Fort Worth, Texas, also had tracked this unidentified object on their radar screen earlier in that evening. So, Texas, Oklahoma is connected to Texas, they border. So this left Fort Worth, moved up to the north to Oklahoma. UFO witnessed by many people, including members of law enforcement, tracked on radar by military personnel at 2 different Air Force bases. And this was only the first night. At the time, Wright-Patt Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio was home to a small, understaffed, and underfunded office that was responsible for investigating reports of unidentified flying objects. Project Blue Book was established in 1952 in response to many, many civilian reports of such aerial phenomena. It was highly criticized as a public relations stunt to patronize taxpayers. Yet, America was in a Cold War with the Soviet Union. A UFO sighting was more likely to be Russian than extraterrestrial, which was one of the reasons these reports were taken so seriously. There were also civilian organizations that conducted their own investigations within the state. In 1965, Hayden Hughes, he was the 20-year-old director of the Interplanetary Intelligence of UFOs. The purpose of the organization was the study and scientific research of unidentified flying objects. That Saturday, Hughes traveled to Wynwood to interview, or the next Saturday, Hughes traveled to Wynwood to interview Officer Sykes. It was a busy day for the Interplanetary Intelligence of UFO members, who received a wave of these report sightings. On the same day that Sykes saw his UFO, a man who was fishing at Lake Hefner witnessed the same saucer-type craft emerge from the water, hover momentarily, then fly away. The unnamed witness had been admitted to a local hospital in a state of shock. The next day, Sunday, August 1st, UFOs were the talk of the town. Oklahomans wanted a glimpse of one of these aircrafts. When dusk fell, saucer watchers would not be disappointed. Around 9 o'clock, Hughes received a phone call from television newsman Mike Buchanan informing him that the Highway Patrol had received 20 more reports of UFOs en route to Oklahoma City. Hughes drove the Highway Patrol's look tower, and formerly located at the Broadway extension south of Edmond. He scanned the night for hours while these strange objects were coming in over the police radio, and they were being tracked again on by Tinker Air Force Base in the neighboring town, this time tracking 4 UFOs on radar together at a height of 22,000 feet this time. The craft appeared as they did the night before, very bright, multicolored, hovering, flying off at higher rate of speed, and making sharp right angle turns. The earliest reported sighting near Edmond that Sunday occurred west of the town at 10 p.m. when Wes Pitchford and his wife as it passed near their home, and they described it as about 30 feet in diameter with a dome on top, so typical saucer shape.
Yeah.
And Mr. Pitchford said that the objects appeared on the eastern horizon, quickly approached his house, then whooshed on by, going west by southwest.
Wow.
Pretty exciting in Oklahoma. That's one of the more crazier ones because, okay, we got the confirmation from townspeople. That's where it starts. Then you got Highway Patrol. Then you got a neighboring sheriff's office. Then you got the military radar at an Air Force base. And then you got another state's one in the state next to it.
That's insane.
That's pretty...
That's pretty conclusive.
Yeah. That's too many people to say it's false.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of... that's a lot of people that confirms that.
And this wasn't like, a couple weeks later. No, it was the next night. You got one.
Yeah.
The next night you get 4. And then nothing happened again. Could the veil have closed? Did the veil close? Yeah. Were they trying to get back?
Right, yeah.
And now they're not even in our dimension anymore. If you were to believe the interdimensional theory, that's a possibility. Interplanetary, they had a 2-night stay at the Motel 6.
Yeah. It was a tough night, but they had to relax.
They're not immune to bed bugs.
No.
But no, I thought that was fascinating. I love the reports of neighboring towns, multiple towns, not just people, but military too. It's a different beast when the military tracks it.
Yeah, when you get so many people, confirming, it's tough to say, you didn't see what you saw.
Yeah. There's too many, especially when the military is involved in there. They're also stepping in with it. It's, going down from the first person that saw it to now who's seeing it. It's a nice report. I mean, I would say that's one of the more believable ones we've heard.
Even the eyewitness testimony isn't making ridiculous claims. It was over there and then it whooshed by and went that way.
Yeah.
Nobody's convincing. Nobody's trying. It's just fact finding. You know what I mean? I'm just telling you what I saw. And also, again, the balls of those people, you would never have a confirmation nowadays if a military tracked something like that on radar.
Never. Nope.
Never.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
No.
So, Oklahoma, very strong story.
I like it. Give it a thumbs up.
I like it a lot. Definitely.
I buy it.
Yeah.
The next place we're going is going to be Massachusetts.
Ooh.
So there's 2 stories that run into each other, but this one is the Labor Day of 1969 UFO incident allegedly occurred on the night of September 1st, 1969 in Berkshire County, Massachusetts, when over 250 people allegedly reported witnessing a UFO. According to the UFO park enthusiasts, the incident has been deemed significantly historic and true event by the Great Barrington Historical Society and Massachusetts historians. I've never heard of it. It's kind of cool. It says, though other local historians and journalists have expressed doubts, despite being accepted as the most seen UFO in the history of Berkshire County, no tangible record or any report at this time, police or media has ever been found. It's really weird to think about, considering it's the most. But it says, and going on to the story, it says the most famous encounter from the incident was allegedly to occur in Sharefield or near Old Covered Bridge, it's called. Thomas Reed and his family were crossing the bridge when they saw a disc-shaped object hovering in the air. Reed described the craft as a white orb. It says that was bigger than a football field. They tried escaping the UFO by continuing to drive down Covered Bridge Lane, but the craft followed them. Reed says the car was engulfed in light, which I could see that happening, as they were pulled into the UFO. When Reed took a polygraph test, he was found to be 99.1% truthful. That's pretty, I mean, that's up there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. It says another alleged off-world incident that happened occurred at Lake Mansfield in Great Barrington. It says Melanie, I'm going to butcher her last name, Kirchforder, and her family had gone on the lake, and when her father backed into a parking spot, a very bright light engulfed their car, just like before. Everyone in the car began to panic. Her father decided to chase the light, even though they were engulfed. Despite Melanie begging him to stop, she and her sister began to shake in fear. Her sister did not remember anything after that. However, she remembered levitating and then being on a ship. She then remembered being laid out while in it. Tom Warner remembered seeing Melanie to the right of him on the ship. He recalled seeing the total fear of her face. However, she did not remember seeing him. She recalled being in a room with several other children. It says suddenly, it says the other children began. Sorry, I'm trying to. It said suddenly the other children began to disappear one by one. After that, she woke up by the lake by herself. She then walked home. Tom remembered at the time being laid down on his back at the other end of his family's property. Yeesh.
Wow.
So
it's kind of this is multiple members, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
It's not hard to believe. It's
not hard to believe in this sense. Multiple times I've heard that extraterrestrials choose the same family, bloodline, DNA, whatever you want to call it, to keep.
I've heard that
abducting is the best way to do it, because either they need something from their DNA. Maybe that something can only be done once a lifetime or you die. So if you keep that, you know what I mean? You can keep getting it from that. Another idea is that they are a higher dimensional space, which means they can interact with dimensions below it. So if you're 5D, you can work on 4D, which many believe 4D is time. We can't.
Okay.
So if in time you see this soul energy as one long line, we see it as cut up into, this is my grandfather, then my father, then me, then my son, then my, you know what I mean?
I've heard about that a couple times, that they go down generational for that, for abducting.
People, I've interviewed them too. People have said, my mother had an abduction story. I was abducted. And then my child, when they were young, later in life, came to me and said, hey, when I was so-and-so, I think I was abducted by aliens. Now for what? A lot of people don't know. You know what I mean? Many people don't even get that, where I remember being laid on a bed. You know what I mean? Many don't. So in that aspect, there is some strong possibilities in there.
Yeah.
Do you think the generational thing could be linked to the possibility of, okay, my grandfather told me a story of being abducted, and now maybe he heard it, so maybe his father heard it so many times that he kind of subconsciously thinks maybe he was abducted, and then it passes down the line just because it started with a really good story from 100 years ago.
I would only think that, I guess.
Maybe they all didn't have the same. Maybe they just have been told the same story so many times that, they apply it to themselves.
I would only think that if there was more stories like that. So everyone that you hear getting abducted, there's a lot of them don't have other people in their family that way. So you only ever hear it. So
no, that's true. I mean, you're right. But as far as just generational story, because you hear there's a lot of generational stories that, especially when you look at the indigenous people, like any kind of Indians and stuff like that. Like take a skinwalker, for instance. That goes back generations and generations.
Oh yeah.
you know, their great grandfather saw them, you know, like, but those people are very close knit families and they stay together, you know, generations. Like they don't, the kid doesn't go off to New York to go to school. You know what I mean? They all stay in the same town, same area. You know what I mean? And I wonder if you examine some of the generational stories, if you have families that are that stay in the same area. You know, I wonder if the grandkid went off to England or something, if he would have the same story as his grandfather in Ohio.
Maybe to make them proud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, like
in a way where he's like, I believe you. You know,
there's also another I'll say it's a growing school of thought that I do know about, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say it here, that completely changes the fundamental idea of alien abductions in the fact that it's not a physical experience. You're not taken out of your bed onto a ship and abducted by aliens for medical experiments. The abduction is up here, and you enter. I'm going to use astral plane for lack of a better word, but you enter this plane space. They come down to this plane space, are able to manipulate dimensions lower than them, so they can do tests and experiments on you and all of that. And you really never leave your bed. Your energy, your consciousness leaves your body
experience.
Yes, and so some believe that is what an alien abduction is. If you were to take that, and let's just for fun say that that's truth, that's what happens. Certain families are higher vibrational than other families. Some can access the astral plane, some can't.
Yeah.
When you seem to have psychics and mediums, you seem to have them in families too. So maybe Ian is right where they hear these stories about how they're, abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
It's really just a calming mechanism that, we're going to do it to you. But since there's these stories, you're going to know what it is a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to be prepared for it, or they're preparing themselves as a part of that journey into the meditation space that I wonder if I'm going to have it. I wonder if I'm going to have it. And their energy is also cycling to that connection point.
It would be an interesting experiment to do, to talk to a group of several different groups and see if a generational issue, to see if they happened all in the same spot. You know, were they living in the same house when it happened, or, passed down from their grandmother or whatever? Is it a family home that they happen in? Yeah. Or do they happen across the country? Like, can you be in Tennessee and it happened, but all your rest of your family was in California? Like, is it a location thing? Like, you're just all happen to be in the same spot all the time? Or is it a DNA thing where they need your DNA, so they're going to find you no matter where you are in the world?
I've always heard it was the DNA one.
That's what I've heard too. Keeping in the generational thing, I just ventured out a theory about more of the CE5 type and your close encounter of the consciousness connection rather than physically, confronting an alien that way. But if you want a good demonstration, I liked the docuseries Hellier. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen it or heard about it on Amazon. Sure. It's 2 seasons long. It's a real life documentary of this couple who gets this weird ass, there's goblins terrorizing my family, and sends video and proof, and they go down to go check it out. Do some tests and experiments. Yeah. You don't get too many goblins nowadays. But anyway,
no,
you don't. And then the second episode or the second season blows the lid off of it, where they start bringing in John Keel and Mothman and different ideologies. The Green Man, Pan, the legendary, god of natives, Pan. But they did an experiment in the second season where they said, because they talked about this idea of seeing if this is a mental thing with alien abductions or not. And they talk a guy into hypnosis and ask him about an alien abduction. And this guy's just a guy. He was like somebody on their crew, actually. And they got... it's on Amazon, but they do go through that if you wanted to check out what it's like to see if somebody can manifest an alien, experience.
Oh yeah.
Just a quick side note: I watched that series on Amazon when you were talking about. Dude,
did you get through all of it?
I'm starting season 3 tonight. It just came out. The first 2 episodes
I'm in
are out.
season 2.
It is so good.
Yeah.
Wow, so good. After episode
it starts with
7,
a bang, doesn't it?
Yeah, after episode 7 of the first season, it just got amazing. After that, I'm like, wow, it's really, really good show.
It is. I
really like it.
I don't know if I said this to. I might have said it to you guys last week, actually, that I don't know how this got past so many execs to end up on MGM, because it's a really well-made show.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
no, it is.
I really like it.
Yeah,
and you're right.
I'm not trying to say poo-poo on MGM, but it's just not the first streaming service you think of, and it's probably not second or third. So
that reminds me of like a Netflix. I'm gonna turn on Netflix and I see that because it's such a good show and it hooks you so quick. Like
it does.
I mean, second or third episode, I was like, I binge watched one whole episode in one day. I'm like, I'm just not gonna stop.
The whole season.
It was quick.
The first season I watched like Saturday or whatever day it was.
Yeah.
I'm like,
we were talking about it, and then he's like, I already watched the first season. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like,
so are all of you past, or did you get through season 2?
I'm in season 2.
I'm done with season 2 yet.
You're done with season 2. You're not, Tyler?
No.
Okay, so I'll wait, but I'll just say it ends on a really interesting note.
The way season 2 ended is like, wow. Like, I don't even know how to.
I'm close to it.
I'm just happy that when I finished season 2, season 3 was there already. Because if
have you started season 3 already?
Yeah, I watched the first one. I haven't watched the second one yet.
Okay.
So
God, I'm watching that tonight. It's so good.
I love this season.
I had to bring it up because I've been hooked on it since I started watching it.
So this won't spoil it because this was, I believe, the first episode of the whole thing. When they made the guy wait outside as a punishment in the dark and all of that.
Yep.
Was that fair or foul?
Oh,
well, I don't know if I would have left him out there.
Yeah, I mean,
what's going on?
But he wasn't drunk, and it was his fault.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That punishment enough? I don't know.
Well, they tried to let him go, but he didn't want any part of it. Like, he was committed to, like, listen, I fucked up, take me out. But it was, that's pretty wild. Like,
since there was so many good character developments, good characters in the same show. In the same show.
This show reminds me of 2 other shows, not where it goes to the extreme what we're watching, but have you ever watched Jericho or Revolution?
I've watched Revolution.
Jericho's really good. I haven't watched Revolution.
Revolution. So, I just bought it again, like on Vudu. That is one of my favorite shows. But yeah, if you haven't seen Jericho,
have I seen Revolution? I might have seen Revolution.
Revolution is where
you remember what it's about, Ian, right?
Revolution is where they lost
electricity goes out.
It's gone.
Yeah. And they can't figure out why the power went out.
Yeah.
And only certain people have access to power.
Yes. Yeah, no, I saw that. That's a great show too.
When the helicopter scene came up and when he had the power, oh man, it was such a good But if you haven't seen Jericho, Tom, watch Jericho.
I'll put that. I'm writing that down.
Summary.
Jericho's really good.
There's an atomic bomb that goes off in every single major city in the U.S. and they have to rebuild. That's all I'm going to tell you. It is so good. Like, I'm telling you, it's conspiracy theories dream to watch this kind of show.
That was a CBS show, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it was.
And then it went to Sci-Fi. I don't know if they had new episodes on Sci-Fi or if it just was.
Mm-hmm. The problem with that show that you're going to watch and when I punch face is at the end, the way they end it, because they ended it like in the middle of a season. So you just
and they are trying to pick it back up. They're trying to pick it back up, but I don't think they will.
But now it's been so long, like it wouldn't even be the same thing.
Yeah,
I wanted to punch myself in the face after I watched the last episode. I'm like,
but man, you get hooked on each.
You do. You get hooked on it.
On every character because there's like 15 of them that have a main storyline that they follow, and that's
what I really like about shows like that is that they really dig into the characters, and it's kind of the same thing with From
too.
Like you'll have one episode kind of about what happened to this person or what happened to that, and they do like a backstory and like how they got there and what they went through to get there. Like that
Revolution
character
did that
development's
too.
really good.
Yeah.
Now I know why you combine the two, because it's probably they're made similar styles. I bet.
Yeah, it's
Just
very
different
similar.
plot and characters.
Well, the people that made Lost made From, and I never really watched Lost. I tried to get into it, and it never really took off for me.
I didn't either, but I still made myself watch the whole thing that way. And there was parts I liked, there's parts I didn't, but I can't help but feel if that was made on like HBO or a cable channel and not ABC, owned by Disney, it might have been a lot better.
A lot better, sure.
Yeah, I get that.
That was great detour, and we're right on pace. We did 6 in an hour. Look at that.
There we go.
Who the hell do we think we are?
Exactly.
Look at us being grown up.
Yeah. I'll be damned.
8 minutes from now, we're going to be talking about something completely different.
Yep, that's very true.
Yeah. So anyway, I was washing laundry.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Where are we heading to?
Is it me or
my
Ian?
turn? I think it's my turn.
Oh, well,
Oh, you just went.
Okay.
We are going to Colorado.
Oh, okay.
Colorado.
I like it.
Good job. It was close.
This one is actually kind of a cool story. A UFO spotted above a concert venue in Colorado, a witness has reported. Unidentified flying objects have long captured imaginations across the country. In the United States government reportedly receiving dozens of sighting reports each month of last year. This is a pretty recent one. On June 5th, an unnamed employee of the Red Rocks Amphitheater in Morrison, Colorado, said they saw a large disc-shaped craft above the venue. The employee said the craft hovered silently and then disappeared into thin air. According to a report submitted to the National UFO Reporting Center, a nonprofit that documents alleged sightings of UFOs and alien contacts. I was working at the Red Rocks Amphitheater last night when one of the co-workers suddenly said to us, "Hey, what is that over there? It looks like a spaceship," the employee said in the report. We all turned to look in the direction he was pointing, and sure enough, there was a UFO hovering about a half mile to a mile north of the Red Rocks. They continued, "A dozen of us saw it. We all kept asking each other, 'Are you seeing this too?' It was a resounding yes from everyone in the group." So this has got a lot of witnesses, so that's a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The employees said the sighting lasted about 30 seconds and described the UFO as having 3 levels of windows, almost like a really long 3-story office building.
Wow.
They also said that as soon as they noticed a floating craft, it tipped to an angle, began moving away, and soon became invisible. That's kind of an interesting movement.
Yeah.
This was not a plane. It wasn't a satellite or a drone or anything like that. There was no mistaking what it was. We all saw a giant disc-shaped craft hovering a few hundred feet above the ground with 3 rows of windows and lights. Then we all saw it fade into nothing as soon as it knew it was being watched. There were dozens of people who saw it with me. In response to questions about the alleged sighting, a spokesperson for Red Rocks told Newsweek in an emailed statement, "We see amazing, wondrous, and mysterious things at Red Rock almost every night of the year. We welcome our fans from all over the world and apparently other worlds, and are delighted that Red Rocks has a reputation that is intergalactic."
Must have liked the music.
That's the lovely marketing. Lovely marketing.
That's what I'm thinking. That was a smooth move. We see this every night. Come check us out.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's the last laugh is on them because they didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it continues on. The National UFO Reporting Center has processed more than 170,000 reports since its founding in 1974. The company's website said the subject of UFO sightings has generated even more public interest than usual since 2022, when the government established an all-domain anomaly resolution office to investigate reports of unidentified anomalous phenomena.
So All right. Season 1, Skinwalker Ranch. Season 2, Crop Circles in UK. Season 3, Red Rock.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. We can catch a a show and a UFO.
Yeah,
I mean,
Shofo.
That's pretty big for them to say it was
that type of UFO,
like a 3-story window and
drawings. Like not personally, but I think I can understand what they meant by that.
Yeah, for sure. And the way it moved, it tilted to the side and took off. Like the movement was kind of an odd.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a movement like that.
No, but I think I've seen illustrations, not photos of things like that. So I can agree to that one.
Well, I've been to Vegas. I've been to like the desert to like California and stuff like that. And if you go out at night, like the skies are so different than they are like around here. You know, we're in a city. You know what I mean? So things appear different. You know, just looking up. I've always wanted to like camp out one night and just see what the night sky had to offer out there.
Yeah,
because you get away from the city lights and stuff. It's a whole nother view, man.
Oh yeah.
But they say 13 people saw it. I don't know. There's probably a lot more people there at the venue. You would think probably a lot
After
more.
After that, they said
it.
dozens. I remember they said dozens of people.
Yeah.
Witnesses.
So this happened in May 8th of 2022. So that's pretty recent. It's probably our most recent one. Right?
Kind of want to look it up now to see if there's any footage because that's very, very close to us.
Colorado. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, Red Rock. I mean, everyone has their cell phones out when they go to those concerts.
I've been to Denver, and that's a popular area near it that many people go to when they go to see visit Denver. So the brochures and things like that you see and all the tourist stuff, it's the start of big sky country out there. When you're sitting there, you can look all the way that way and you can look all the way that way and have the sky. You know what I mean? And it's just so much different than where we are here, But seeing that at an amphitheater, I think that would be really, really cool.
I imagine there were things going on there, like I don't know, some recreational activities. I don't know how many recreational activities you got to do to see a UFO if it's not there, but there's quite a few.
So here's a quick story about my Denver trip. So it was right after I was there for GABF. I was there for the Great American Beer Fest, which is the biggest beer festival in America, second in the world, only to Germany. So they closed. They open up the entire Colorado Convention Center. Hundreds of thousands of square foot, like a convention center. You know what I mean? And just beer everywhere, and they have it all separated by the United States. So that's why I was there. I wanted to check out, and me and my friend wanted to check out a dispensary because it just had become legal, recreational there for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny, the process. So you go, it was like the movie Beer Fest. You go up to this random door and you knock, and they over the intercom say, "Put your ID in front of the people."
Camera.
Yeah. And there was a peephole in the door, so we just grabbed our ID and we're like, putting it right. And they like, okay, you may enter, only one. And then they closed, and they had my friend do it too. And you go in there, and it was decorated like it was somebody's basement. Like it wasn't even.
Yeah. So the security they had for that, you're expecting something a little different. Like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, there's like a guy back there rolling, pre-rolls, and then there was a guy over here selling cartridges, and then honestly, swag. That was literally. So, long story short, it is as easy as everyone says it is. But Denver Red Rocks Amphitheater, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Marijuana's not supposed to make you hallucinate, though. So,
but they were offering free peyote at the end.
I was just gonna say, if we're doing peyote, well, we'll see what we see. But
I wouldn't be surprised around that area that people.
I saw the Goodyear blimp over at the Denver Broncos Stadium. That's what they were.
Exactly.
Is there a football game tonight?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What year is it? No, that's wonderful on Denver. So I'm in this randomness. I got Florida, which is where you guys are. So let's go. Let's go to your state. He's testing me, not wanting to play there. So I have picked the Gulf Breeze incident from the late 80s.
Okay.
And if you guys remember, or have you guys heard about that one at all?
I have not.
You have to continue with the story. I might know, it might not, but I don't think I do.
So let me just
Gulf Breeze. So it's on the Gulf side.
Yeah. So I just snipped the tool. It just reminded me of what Ian was talking about with the Red Rocks. That's what I kind of.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was envisioning. In a way,
that's exactly. That's pretty.
You're right.
So
it's Gulf Breeze, Florida,
and this is November of 1987 to May 1st, 1988. So the Gulf Breeze UFO incident was a series of claimed UFO sightings in Florida, late 87 to early 88. So ufologists such as Bruce Maccabee believed all of these claims were genuine. So to kick off, on November 11th, 1987, Ed Walters, who was a contractor in Gulf Breeze, Florida, was allegedly immobilized briefly by a, quote, blue beam, after which he took 5 Polaroids of an object in the sky outside of his home. Walters reported seeing the UFO object hover about 200 feet above the ground, so pretty low, describing it as something right out of a Spielberg movie. He claimed to have multiple subsequent visits to the UFO, recording videotape and taking a total of 32 photographs of this object. Walters further reported witnessing the craft land on Southside Drive and deposit 5 aliens on the road. Just sounds weird.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got to deposit 5 aliens on the road.
Right?
Yeah, me too. He stated that one of the aliens. He stated that one of the aliens stared into his window, at which point the aliens communicated with him in English and also Spanish via telepathy, which presented him with a book showing pictures of dogs.
It is Florida, so there's a lot of Spanish.
That is very true.
He talked to me in English and Spanish and then showed me a picture of a dog. What the hell is this?
Well, you've never been to Florida, have you? This is a normal thing.
No, I got family in Florida. That shouldn't shock me, but
they're taking the cats. They're taking the dogs.
Yeah. A blue beam of light then caused him to be lifted approximately 3 feet off the ground. Walter stated that the immobilization in the blue beam happened again December 2nd. So almost about 3 weeks later, 1987. On February 7th, 1988, Walters allegedly photographed his wife. As she attempted to outrun the blue beam. Walters also claimed to have communicated further with the aliens. Here, his family reported 19 sightings or encounters over time. On May 1st, 1988, Walters reported feeling the alien presence while he was at Shoreline Park after midnight. He saw the UFO, took a photo of it, and lost consciousness, quote, for about an hour. Walters stated that the UFO leaked some kind of liquid that continued to boil even 19 days after he captured it. Walters gave his photographs to the Gulf Breeze Sentinel newspaper using the aliases of Mr. X, Mr. Ed, and Jim, out of concern for being ridiculed and protecting his family. However, Walters openly admitted to being the photographer in 1989. He submitted to a polygraph test in February 1988, and the examiner concluded that he believes Walters' photos are real. Walters claims to have missing time on 3 prior occasions, once during a canoe trip, the second during an apparent nightmare, and the third when he had been driving at night and realized he could no longer see any cars or street lights on the road. Walters claimed to have stepped out of his car, saw a bright light coming to him, which lifted him off the road. When he got back in the car and illuminated its interior, he reported finding himself next to morning traffic 5 hours later. Under hypnosis, Walters stated that he discovered that he had been abducted by aliens on several occasions. A paranormal investigator, Ray Stanford, focused on the clouds in the background of Walters' photos, initially believing they could have not been taken on November 11, 1987, due to incorrect weather information that he had received. After receiving correct weather data, he conceded that the photos were likely actually taken on that day, but he still believed it was a hoax. UFO investigator Philip Klass stated that there was no way those photos were authentic, and stated that he had not investigated Gulf Breeze incident at length because it was not genuinely impressive to the public. Robert Nathan of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory stated that many of these images are double exposure photographs, and that focusing on the object and the buildings nearby seem to be more sharply focused or fuzzier. Nathan also said he had a feeling that there's some kind of cut and paste on some surface. Ed Gray, the mayor of Gulf Breeze, essentially analyzed the photos himself, and he concluded that the photos were fake. Eglin Air Force Base, located directly east of Gulf Breeze, is a military installation of mind-boggling proportions. The base's director of public affairs said that there is no record of unusual activity or strange radar blimps at the times of the sighting. Jerry Brown, the Gulf Breeze police, said that locals were mistaking UFO phenomena on activity at the base, and blamed the domino effect of hysteria that began with Walter's photos. So that was the Gulf Breeze incident. Gave you both sides of that story there.
And that's when bath salts was invented. I'm just joking.
I still can't get over they communicated with him in English and Spanish, which
I like how they just deposited 5 aliens on the road.
I mean, that's the intergalactic count of racism if I ever heard one. I don't know. Talk to him in both. I don't know what he.
They go. I mean, I can hear the conversation out. Where we at? Florida? Okay, hold on. Let me get.
Yeah. But the best part is it wasn't even spoken.
Yeah.
English ain't gonna cut it. Hold on.
Some of it seemed very believable. When we got to the other side of it, it seems like, okay, it was debunked a little bit.
I like how they deposited 5 aliens on the middle of the road. Like, I just picture.
I guess
like in a litter box,
you would say it.
Dropping birds on the road.
The best part, Ian, is what that was in quotes. Like they wanted to make sure that they knew that he actually said that part. It was in quotes. Deposited 5 aliens on the road.
And
those words came out of his mouth.
Back then, does that sound normal to someone to say that? You know,
it's 1987. It's not.
It's not like 1800s. They had dogs depositing in the backyard then.
Got to play every angle.
I mean, I can see. Okay, maybe he just doesn't know what it is or what they're doing. But if I saw something deposit 5 aliens on the road,
oh yeah,
I want to know. I want to know what that looks
it
like.
Released 5 aliens onto the road, or beamed 5 aliens on the road. I'm not. I'm trying to pick a better word than deposit.
So the
I want to know what that looks like.
So the picture you showed us that resembled Ian's, but where's the pictures he took? You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Because there was he took there's like excessive of probably around 40 to 50 photos and videos. So if we only got a picture of one that looked like something, you think there'd be an actual picture of it, even if it's overexposed. I get it, extra light, but it'd be really interesting because of.
Well, remember it said that he gave them to the Gulf Breeze Sentinel.
But you would think that if he copy and pasted, that means he has extras. Okay. Back then. But it's just kind of funny to think about.
So, actually, I think you guys have seen this one before. I know I have, and this seems pretty. I'm gonna
if it's a popular
screen here again. I think it's a more famous one. Look at that. Have you guys seen that one before?
I have seen that one, and
I don't think I have.
I would say that for the picture quality it is, that doesn't resemble the 1980s. And you know what I mean? It might, but like picture quality, I think it'd be a lot worse than that.
I don't know. That looks
some of these Android phones can't even take that picture. Sorry. Had to say it.
Oh, don't start that. That's what we're we are going to get sidetracked.
He knows it provokes me too. He does this shit on purpose.
I know it does.
Son of a bitch.
I'm just saying.
He does it on purpose.
But I have seen the photo like that before. But I mean, that was one of his photos.
That was his photo. Oh, we got another one incoming here.
What
but
was
it
he
has
using?
32, but he said he gave away a ton to
okay.
the Breeze Sentinel or Gulf Breeze Sentinel. This one I haven't seen, but it's, if you can look, it's the same type of object.
Okay, it's just a little.
What about that for photo quality? Because that
resembles the picture that it was drawn.
A little bit, yeah, you're right.
To a T,
yeah,
with the black lines in the top.
Yeah.
That one's like, I mean, I would say that's believable, but for back then.
Where's the where's the double exposure that they're talking about?
That's not double exposure.
Okay, so only the one with his wife is what he was saying.
So the double, that would be the one that you'd go off of as.
What about the evidence of copy and paste? Where would they be talking about that?
The thing is, with this photo,
this might not be. You're right.
Very difficult because of
the black and the.
It is, and they have something in the photo it's right below the ship itself. It looks like a piece of debris in a way. Yeah, and that could just be because of the film doing that. But I mean, I would say that's more believable
than the road one.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Because also size appears a little different. The one on the road would indicate a bigger. That one would have to be at a certain angle to appear like that in the sky too.
Yeah, and the way that the first photo you showed us, the way that the light is just trapped in a circle and not across the land, it's kind of weird to me.
Okay.
Looking at a photo, because it wouldn't be light would be going everywhere instead of just in one circular motion.
Okay, but Gulf Breeze, guys, late 1980s.
I like it.
Yeah,
that's where Florida Man was invented. I'm just joking. If you ever hear the Florida Man source, yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Have you heard of the Florida Man game where you type Florida Man and type in your birthday on Google? So Florida Man, I would be September, and you would type that in, and then you are the Florida Man of whatever the first story is.
Oh, okay. I haven't.
Try it sometime. It's pretty funny.
Okay, so you like to make fun of Floridians now. Just joking. Just joking. I'm gonna have to try it.
I live here, so do I.
Yeah.
It's like the Philadelphia thing where we can talk crap on each other, but when other people.
The thing is, we're both not from Florida, so it's just
I don't know. I've been here about 35 years. I'm pretty close to from Florida.
When's the from here kick in?
Yeah, I don't know.
2008 I've been here. So
I've been here since 92. Yeah, 92, I think.
Yeah.
I was here. I moved here, and then
more than half your life. If you get over half your life in a place, that's probably
I'm not
yeah.
considered a transplant anymore.
Yeah, like if you say, let's start young. If you're 10 and you moved there when you were 5, okay, now you're from Florida. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep. Unless you're from New York, then you got to tell that you're from New York.
Oh God!
They will. They'll be in New York and tell you they're from New York. It doesn't matter.
I remember I moved down here my freshman year of high school, and I had no idea how many people from New York, but I thought everybody was from New York, man. I mean, every kid I went to school with was from New York. I'm like, I don't even know how y'all found your way down here, but everybody was from New York. It was just the thing. You were from Florida or you were from New York.
Yeah.
Seems like it now. You can tell from the it's like right now it's very popular from New York and New Jersey, dude. Like as soon as you're next to someone talking, like, I know where they're from. Yeah. Not in a bad way, but it's just funny.
Definitely.
Happens a lot.
All right, Tyler, where are you taking us?
Next one we're going to Alabama.
Alabama.
All right, with this story, we're going to go with over 30 years ago. Fred Works saw something he couldn't quite explain. which easier to explain is the way that Work's sighting changed the DNA of his town forever. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool start.
Yeah, very dramatic opening.
It says when Fred Works holds out his hands, palms down, thumbs together, index fingers touching. It's his best attempt to approximate the shape of something he saw in the sky more than 30 years ago. The corners were more rounded off, he said, but that's just the gist of it. It's a thick charcoal gray colored triangle flew through the night with 3 lights shining back onto its undercarriage. From Work's spot on a hillside back in February 1989, he saw the craft glide towards him before flying overhead, and he isn't alone. Work's UFO experience began earlier that Friday night when a woman called the local dispatcher to report an immobile light in the sky. When Works got word of the call from the dispatcher, he was just ending his shift at Fife, Alabama Police Department. Despite his attempt to pass the call off on his boss, then Chief of Police Junior Jeremy, sorry if I butchered it, Jeremy Works ended up coming along for the ride. It says, as Jeremy and Works headed towards Kelly Chapel, their caller's locations, they spotted the light back on their left. Jeremy stopped the car. I just want to say Jeremy, but it's not. Stopped the car, and we looked at it for a bit. Work said it looked about the size of a street light in the distance. After trailing the light for some time, several local police officers planned to meet up at the top of Sand Mountain, where we would all hopefully get a better look at whatever was flying over DeKalb County. They watched it fly southwest over the valley. Works said, and he thought his night of UFO chasing was over, said and done with. Jeremy drove the patrol car back to Fife with Works still keeping his eye on his eyes to the heaven in passenger seat. Then another call came in, that time over the radio. A police officer in Crossville reported that the craft went flying over him low and fast, Works said. With Works' eye on the sky, Jeremy pointed the car south and found a place to pull over in the wide circular driveway of a local farmer. They got out of the car and looked around. It says, I turned and looked to the east. Work said, I saw a craft flying coming straight over the tree line. It says, Works assumed it must have been a plane, but but as the craft neared, he realized that something was not quite right about the oncoming craft. Works asked Jeremy to shut off the car engine, and the eerie quiet that followed confirmed his suspicion about the craft. Works said it was dead silent as it flew overhead. Works scanned for identifying markings, but came up empty. All he could take in was a dark triangle flying against the starry sky, so big that it would have taken holding a beach ball at arm's length overhead to block it from his sight. Wow, that's huge.
That is big.
Yeah, knowing there was something off about the not plane, Works was still hesitant to consider that it was a UFO. Instead, he submersed that what others might consider a space booger back then could have been a military aircraft. I would think it was probably government property or something, Works said, which is kind of nice that he would think that. It was probably some kind of new craft we might now know about for about 10 years into the future. That's actually pretty cool. He said that Works said he hadn't even planned to mention the encounter, except he imagined as a war story passed down at family gatherings. That idea is familiar to others who've seen UFOs. In fact, multiple UFO spotters have visited Works to get their stories off of their chest.
Well,
I mean, that seems pretty believable. Like,
seem believable. We get back into the quiet aircraft again.
Yeah. And multiple calls in, and they were literally chasing it because of the dispatcher. So
there's some kind of escalation when you have the dispatcher and now you're chasing it, right? You know what I mean? There has to be some level of fear in the voice of people, you know what I mean, calling in. emotion. When you have somebody who's, let me put it this way, when you have somebody who's making one of these stories up, you're not going to have that authentic, organic emotion because you're telling a story. You know what I mean? Dispatch is trained to help people in that of emotion. That's all. That's more than half their job is dealing with the emotion of somebody on the other end of the line.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
When you get that level of emotion, it's very, very believable to me.
And the fact is that he wanted to think that it was military first for something that we didn't see and we might see in the next 10 years in the future of what they have or what government's building. So he even went on that side of it to play both sides, and he didn't want to bring it up, but then people ask questions. So it's kind of cool that he questioned himself on that one. He's like, no, he's like, that might be something we haven't seen yet, technology.
But there's a part of that is very true. Is it anything, if you see something unidentified in the sky, but live near a Wright-Patterson, if you live near an Army base, an Air Force base, a place of confidentiality, you know what I mean, where everybody in there has clearances, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would err to that too, that, well, it's nothing that I know about today, but it might be something that will be coming out later.
Exactly. It's kind of cool. I like that story. I think it's believable.
Yeah, it's definitely believable. Interesting story with Alabama. Some of these states are surprising us with some good stories,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Milwaukee was a letdown in Wisconsin.
When is it Wisconsin a letdown?
Yeah. I'm sorry, but if you've been to Wisconsin, I love that.
You guys are going to see your analytics state by state.
Yeah, just go straight down.
That's why
I'm talking. If you haven't been to Wisconsin Dells, which is the world's biggest water park, you haven't lived. And people that live in Wisconsin know what I'm talking about.
That you're losing viewers from neighboring states. That's how much it went down.
No.
How do people in Chicago hate us? I didn't even say anything about Chicago yet.
Yeah. So the last time I went to Wisconsin, I had to go, Wisconsin's known for their cheese. I went to a cheese castle. It was a castle that was just, you go in and it's just nothing but a cheese market. You guys haven't gone
on the wall? Is it made of cheese? Can you eat your way through it?
Yeah, I don't want to bring you there. I was going to say let's fly out there, but not anymore.
I'm not allowed in Wisconsin. Sorry.
I'm telling you, it's a great time. Wisconsin's awesome. It's a lot of open road, but it's nice.
Well, it's
you ever get banned from a state?
I'm trying.
Know all about that.
All right, so Oregon now, and now Wisconsin. Oh man, let's keep this ship rolling in. Where are we at?
I think
we are going to Arkansas.
Great job, Ian. 2 away from the mouse.
There we go.
I like to keep it close, buddy. I like to make your job easy. You know what I mean?
There we go.
I'm looking out for you, guy.
Appreciate it.
This is my home state. Not only my home state where I was born, but the town that I was born in.
No way.
Okay.
Have you heard of this one before reading it?
I have not. It was a little before my time because it was in the 1800s. But well, part
about
of
5 years.
It's kind of 2 stories.
Pretty close.
We're close. I'm not that old. So Arkansas has a number of sightings and unidentified flying objects. Most sightings have been isolated events, but there have been a few events in Arkansas's recorded history in which several people have reported seeing a UFO, most notably in 1897 and 1965. Some have argued that the UFOs in the late 1800s were in fact airships or balloons that inventors were experimenting with flying. Others maintain that the sightings were a hoax perpetrated by citizens or newspaper reporters. I could start on Arkansas, but I'm trying to see a statement.
Even back then.
I've been to Arkansas. I don't know if they're hoaxing anything. They're not really, and if they do, you don't want to go up in the air with it. I promise. Stay on the ground. Trust me. Throughout the fall, and I can say that because I'm from there. So
that's all right.
Throughout the fall and winter of 1896 and 1897, people across the country, beginning in California, reported seeing what they termed airships. By the spring, the phenomenon had moved into Arkansas. According to a newspaper reports on April 20th, 1897, Captain Jim Hooton, a railroad conductor from Iron Mountain Railroad, was visiting Texarkana, that's where I was born, to pick up a train engine to bring it back to Little Rock, Arkansas. While waiting for the train to be ready, he decided to go hunting near Texarkana, and he was making his way through some of the shrubbery. He heard what he described as a familiar sound of a locomotive air pump. Curious, Hooton made his way towards the sound. Hooton told the Arkansas Gazette that I read that paper when I was little, that he saw the airships that was making news across the country landed in a field a few acres from his vantage point. Aboard the ship was a man wearing smoke-colored glasses. He asked the man, "Is this the airship?" The man replied, "Yes, sir." As the pilot was responding, 3 or 4 men came out of the ship. He asked the man, "I beg of your pardon, sir. The noise sounds a good deal like a Westinghouse air brake." "Perhaps it does," the pilot answered. "We are using compressed air and aeroplanes, but you will know more later on." That kind of sounds like it was an airship. I don't know. People were in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Small world. I had uncles that worked in the Westinghouse manufacturing facility in Philadelphia and probably made that air pump.
Yeah.
So small world.
So,
yeah.
The second part of it was perhaps the most prominent of the 1897 sightings in Arkansas occurred in Hot Springs on the rainy evening of May 7th. Constable John J. Sumter, a deputy sheriff, and Deputy Sheriff John McElmore were riding horseback outside the city limits. As they were riding, they saw a bright light in the sky that quickly disappeared. Puzzled, but not alarmed, the two kept on their journey. Suddenly, they saw the light again, this time much closer to the ground. The 2 lawmen rode on to investigate. According to the account they gave to the Hot Springs Sentinel, they rode until their horses refused to go any further. They dismounted and drew their weapons. They described seeing a cigar-shaped vessel 60 feet long. Walking around the ship were several men, all shining lights, while another filled a sack with water. Sumter and McElmore asked the men what they were doing. A bearded man holding a lantern came near the police and told them that they were traveling through the country on an airship. The presumed pilot of the airship asked if the 2 lawmen would like to ride in the airship, saying that they could take us where it was not raining. We told him we believed we preferred to get wet. The pilot said their eventual destination was Nashville, Tennessee. The lawmen let the airship go on its way. I don't see a UFO here. Well, it sounds like it's just, a 60-foot cigar shape. That's pretty. I guess that's.
We already got into one cigar shape UFO, so it's.
Yeah.
Unless they're just saying it that way, airship, and it was something different.
Maybe.
Because in 1897, they don't have the term flying saucer. They don't have
you're right. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
And again, this comes back to Tyler's your story a little bit with the elderly people. Yeah. They could have been taking a shape that's familiar to the lawmen. But the fact that they were talking so nonchalant about, we're just on an airship. Meanwhile, Kitty Hawk didn't happen for another 7 years. You're
right.
On 1,000, maybe 1,200 miles away from where they are.
Did these people just look normal? Could they have been reptilians? Could they have been just shape-shifting into what looked like
was
humans?
At night, right? And it was under a lantern. Yeah. So you're not going to make the best definition of what, what they really are. It could have gotten away with that camera.
So there's another story in it this one is from Ginger Morris from Cabot, Arkansas. My parents have always told a story that they did not speak with each other for years. On the highway between Cabot and Ward, their vehicle stopped and they saw a ribbed-like huge structure above them, hovered for a bit before flying quickly away. This was maybe 1976, 1977. My parents were never believers, but they believed this. I've never heard anything described like that, a rib-like huge structure.
I haven't heard of anything like that.
Yeah, I've never heard of one described that way. I don't know. That's.
I mean, well, the only thing I can think of.
For her pleasure? Wait a minute. What?
What?
I don't know. We've gone off the rail.
Always off the rails. But this time, at least, we made it to an hour 40 in to go off the rails. So
yeah,
I mean, that's pretty good for us.
That
That's pretty good for us.
I'm just happy we remembered to hit live. So
yeah,
especially since I had to hit it. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know.
But Arkansas, man,
we're gonna have to start this over in a minute because I didn't hit live. Oh, by the way,
yeah. See how fast we get through them then. No, Arkansas, man, great stories. I do believe that this is an alien. I do believe that is a mistaken identity alien. You couldn't see them very well.
Yeah,
they're talking about airships. I bet you the lawmen were like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like
under a lantern light. How dim was that light, or how was you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tell you what's really big in Arkansas is there's a lot of Bigfoot stories in Arkansas.
Really?
Even where I was from, close, there's a town called Fouke, which is the Fouke monster. I'm sure you guys have heard about that. Mm-hmm. When I was growing up, man, all I heard about was everything in that area. We lived, I don't know, I guess it was probably 30, 45 minutes away from Fouke. And like people in my school were like afraid to go to Fouke. Like the kids in my school were like, "Oh no, I would never go there." Yeah, like it was crazy, man. And there's a lot of like Bigfoot stories and stuff in that area.
We had a lot of werewolf stories by us. How about you?
Really?
Guys? We did.
You have you're Midwest.
Oh yeah.
You have a lot of Michigan dogmen.
And
you have a lot.
I don't know if you guys ever watched this really old movie called Silver Bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
I think I have. Yeah,
that is like it's a really old werewolf movie, but it scared the crap out of me as a kid. And I mean, no one wanted to go in the woods.
We all have those movies, and they're all epic.
If you haven't seen Silver Bullet, you don't want to watch it.
Yeah,
it'll make.
If you get anything from this special podcast, we're giving you guys a ton of content out there to go watch and see.
We have a lot of free time on our hands, so we watch a lot of stuff. So if you tune in for no other reason, we'll give you good episodes, good things to watch.
We'll be sure to have it scroll down here at the bottom.
That's what we should do. Just add a scroll to everything that we watch.
Yeah. We'll just change it, Right now we're talking about this episode of this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, fun. So I said I did Arkansas. I didn't do Kansas. It was Kansas. I'm moving to Kansas. I said I did Kansas. We did not do Kansas. So that's mine. I'll run through it quick to make sure I leave time for Tyler. So this story comes to us in 1972, and this story was retold by Kansas's a local historian in the town of Dayton, and he is everything. I'm going to show you this real quick. He is everything that you would think a local historian in Kansas is. Look at this guy.
Yep,
I feel like that's 100% what I pictured.
Yeah.
I saw that and I said, he's coming with me. He's coming with me.
Oh yeah.
All right.
That's my guy.
That is my guy. He's actually going to be my roommate. No. The year is 19.
Did we lose him?
Oh, we might have.
I think we lost. Did we lose Tom?
I didn't even hear what year it was. Man, it's terrible.
It was 1900
miles an hour, but never caught it. He said it would run parallel to his car, then move slightly ahead of it, and then back to parallel. Oh, man. I'm sure that made him mad. Shelton said that the UFO would remain stationary until an investigating officer would radio another car about it, then it would move away. We didn't think much about it first, Shelton said. We thought it ought to be military taking infrared pictures or checking out one of our feedlots. However, according to news reports, Forbes Air Force Base at Topeka and McConnell at Wichita Both reported they did not have any low-level flights or planes that were taking area photos at that time. Other Lane County residents began seeing this light, sometimes red-orange, sometimes white. Now living in Omaha, Pam Shunell said she doesn't talk about her incident with friends much. She was only 18 when she and a friend were driving home from a baseball game in Scott City near Amy in Lane County. Around 10 o'clock, they saw a bright star in the northeast. It began to move around. We thought, they actually thought they put that in the story. Then it moved quickly around sporadically. We knew something was different.
Welcome to Kansas.
It would get so we said and it was in quotes. It would get dimmer and brighter, and then it came right at their vehicle, getting within 100 yards of the car. It was bright enough to take up the whole windshield. It wasn't just a little ball. The object quickly zoomed away and disappeared, then reappeared in the east. The two could barely climb out of the vehicle when they got to the farm because they were so scared. Chanel recalls her not wanting her friend to drive east to Dighton. We knew something out of the ordinary was going on. It could not have been a plane. It could not have been a helicopter. You just know, I don't know what it was. Her brother saw the strange light several times while baling hay late into the night during the summer. And at the same time, at the sighting of her sighting that spring, her father discovered a crop circle burned into his green wheat. The news reported that it was about 20 feet in diameter. He still remembers that smell, an odd smell that didn't smell of burned wheat, but more plastic. So chemical. My dad said, we are religious people, and the only thing we do is go to church and the rodeo in the summer.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
For my dad, it was very hard for him to manage. Oh, I love that they put that part in there.
It had to.
All in all, across Kansas in 1972, there were 40 reported sightings, and Dighton had the most. Wow. And a separate, the best evidence was actually November of 1971 in Delphos, where a teenager, Ronnie Johnson, was tending to the family sheep when he came upon a mushroom-shaped UFO appearing in the sky. Johnson reported the object hovered about 75 feet from him, just above the ground in his parents' farm. The object eventually flew skyward and left him with headaches and nightmares. His parents got a glimpse of the unusual craft, which was then as big as a full moon before disappearing from view. The family found a glowing ring on the ground where the ship allegedly had landed, and there was glowing material on some of the trees nearby, as well as burn marks on nearby cattle on their hide. So that was the year of 1972 in Kansas. How about that? Some crazy story there.
It's insane.
I wonder if UFOs just went for the rodeo.
We just go to church and the rodeo.
That's it,
that
boys.
Is the line of these two specials.
The aliens just wanted to go to the rodeo, bro. It's fine.
It's weird that they burn the cattle. I could see if they got close enough, radiation would burn the cattle.
We know they like music. Yeah. Now we learn they like the rodeo.
Yeah. So we got the crop circle from before, but a burn mark, not a crop circle. Sorry, go ahead. What, Tyler?
I want to know of the glowing substance.
That's what I was wondering. That was.
Yeah, that would. I mean. Yeah, what could that have been to leave there? But he had headaches and nightmares. That's a sign of radiation. I mean, but headaches, definitely low-level radiation.
And burn
in the ground and burn on the cattle's hide.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking milk.
No. I don't drink milk anyways.
Why is the milk glowing?
I'm green. Looks like Mountain Dew comes out of it.
Yeah.
Oh man,
the cow gives us Mountain Dew now.
If I'm checking them off correctly, that should cover most of the Midwest there for me. So Midwest brought it strong actually these first 2 weeks. But Tyler, where close this out? Where are we going today?
I thought we had 2 left. I have 2 left. I might have added an extra.
We looked up 5. We're only doing 4 this week.
Okay. So the next one's going to be good. It's a personal story that I saw. So right now we're going to go to Delaware, New York, Delaware.
Oh, yes. Around me.
So this one was January 1st, 1970. So it's a personal story. It says, I was 16 years old, living at a home in New York Delaware. It was Friday night at 9 o'clock. I was just getting off to work. I guess they go to work at that age. At Kakarin Firestone, if I pronounced that correctly. It was warm and clear. What was that?
You did it right.
Oh, did I? Okay. It says it was warm and with clear skies. I had walked out the front door and stopped just to look around as I usually do on Fridays. To the left of my sight, I noticed something coming my way very slowly and quietly. I was just above the tree line it was just above the tree line and quite large. I was speechless as it made its way to me before stopping directly above my head. It was a saucer-shaped ship with lights of different colors around the edge. It was totally quiet with no propellers or exhaust smoke. I knew that I was I knew that it says I knew that I was screaming for my boss John to hurry outside, but my voice was not projected loud at all. That's kind of weird, but kind of cool.
That is weird.
I couldn't believe that this was happening to me. It was directly above me, no more than 100 feet. It looked to be made of a semi-shiny metal and about the size of a half of a football field or a bit smaller. It finally slowly moved away from me, crossing the street, going over our family house and up to where was it? And up and over Iron Mountain, if anyone knows where that is, before stopping. Then it took off at an angle at an unbelievable speed that I have never seen until going out of my sight. I ran home and flew inside, yelling, screaming out loud that I had just seen a flying saucer. As my family was looking at me, I lost my mind. My younger sister came upstairs and yelling, saying I saw the same thing. So it's kind of cool. And it's in a really, I mean, a lot of people know that area too, especially with the name drops that I did for towns and where he was.
Yeah. Populated area. UFO 1970 in Delaware. You don't get many of them. Being such a small state, I would imagine a lot of their stories are going to be gobbled up by Maryland, Jersey, or
you're right.
PA.
Yeah.
They got one all their own.
Cool how they said that too. Like when he was screaming, you couldn't hear outside of a certain radius. It just wasn't projected. His voice wasn't projected, and I could see something like that happening.
Because if something is dulling out, because we know it as voices, but it's vibration, right? All noises. So if something is humming at a certain pitch, it's going to create a wall that it won't get through. But it also reminded me of like those dreams. Have you ever had dreams like that where you talk and you can't get the word out, or you run and you can't?
I was going to say, when I was little, we used to go up to North Carolina and with my grandparents' house, and all the grandkids were sleeping upstairs. And I woke up and I was awake, and I remember like seeing like a weird hand or something, or I saw something that kind of resembled a hand, and I tried to scream, and I couldn't get anything out. You know what I mean? Like I was trying, nothing happened, and like that was the only time it ever happened. And I think about it to this day because it was really weird. And I know I was awake because I couldn't go back to sleep. I was done. I was up for the day, but that was the only time it's ever really happened. And I don't know if it was like out of fear or what caused that, but it was it was pretty weird.
Do you think it could have been like a sleep paralysis?
Where you were up and I got
move.
Up, but
I could move sleeping. Because I sat up, like I could physically move. I just couldn't. I couldn't project any. Yeah, I couldn't project any noise. Like unless I tried to scream.
Unless it was like a muscle memory that you got up and then you were still sleeping, like sleepwalking, and then it just
maybe. I felt like I was awake. I felt like I was pretty lucid. Like I kind of knew what was going on because I know I didn't go back to sleep. Like I was up once I was up.
Okay.
So that would, that's pretty interesting because that would negate that, because a lot of times when, you hear stories similar to this, they say, well, I laid back down, but I couldn't, but you laid back down. If you have a conscious full memory of like, no, I got up and started my day after that.
Yeah.
And you don't have that point of where it could have maybe been a really lucid dream. And you lay down and got back up, but you really did wake up. You know what I mean? Because you were dreaming.
Right.
If you got up for the day, that's a bona fide creepy story. Was the hand human? Was it like dead? What was it? Just like somebody's arm? What did it look like?
It kind of reminds I don't think I'm right, but I don't know if I remember correctly, but I kind of remember it being almost like a Freddy Krueger type hand. You know what I mean? But I think I'm putting that into the story. Like I don't know if that's what I actually saw, but I remember seeing a hand. But
abnormally long fingers.
Yeah.
paws.
It's like kind of an abnormally long fingers, but
reaching towards you or around you,
like just coming kind of hovering. It was moving towards me, but super slow.
Okay.
But it was just kind of hovering, and it was just a hand, no arm, no nothing.
Yeah.
And like I don't know. I don't know. I could never explain it, but I think about it a lot because that was like the only time it's ever really happened.
That's a bona fide unexplained story that had happened to you. You know, that's really creepy. And a lot of times, you know, people brush off those type of stories because it's, oh, well, I woke up. Oh, so you must have been dreaming. It's an automatic thing people put every single time.
Yeah.
But not all the time can that be 100% true.
Right.
And if you saw, and was this like a bedroom you were in, or?
It was we were on the bed. We were in the bedroom. I was on the floor with, I think, and then we were in between two beds, and then the other cousins up. Like there was probably 6 or 8 of us in the room at the time.
Oh wow!
But I remember trying to scream because it like super freaked me out, and nothing came out. It was like it was just super weird the way it felt because I could feel my voice like not working.
That could be in the realm of paranormal, like a spirit. You know what I mean? Because in order to manifest, it's going to need energy, and it probably needed your energy to manifest in that way. That's what it sounds like, you know, where it had to take from you. And if it took from you, you're not going to be you for that period of time.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. Sorry it happened, but that's a very interesting story.
Glad my pain brings you pleasure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's funny, you know. I think for some reason I actually think about it a lot, but I don't put a lot of thought into. You know, if that makes sense. Like it just pops into my mind once in a while. I'm like, that was really weird, but I don't really like dwell on it or think about it. Like, wow, that was really creepy. Like it doesn't mess with me. It's just, it was just an interesting story. When he said that he didn't have a voice, like that's what it immediately related.
Now it'll make you think about it a lot more. Like that was really fucked up.
Yeah, no, listen, I think about it. It pops into my mind quite often.
Ever since I had sleep paralysis. It was a weird experience, man.
It is.
Only ever experienced it once ever in my life, and it's not fun.
I haven't experienced it that many times. I want to say maybe I can remember like 3 or 4. That's it.
But I don't think I've ever really experienced that on that level.
The weirdest part.
I haven't. I had the mild cases. I don't do the. I haven't seen Hat Man. I haven't seen.
I've seen someone in front of me, and it was like a demon. I'm like, dude,
a lot of people report the demons. A lot of people report Hat Man, shadow figure.
Yeah, it's real as day. And the thing is, I would shut my eyes to try to go back to sleep, and I couldn't go back to sleep. And every time I opened my eyes, it was right in front of me. I'm like, and I woke up fucking panicked. Yeah. And I couldn't explain it.
I had impression. The scariest part was impressions in the bed, like somebody pushed the bed down, and I could feel
that'd be creepy.
Growling right here. But
that'd be creepy.
But my paralysis was I couldn't even open my eyes. So
you just had the feeling of it.
Yeah, like I'm like trying to open my eyes, and really I'm probably just rolling my eyes upward. You know what I mean? Like but I could not open my eyes. And
how awake were you? You know what I mean? Like I don't know if that makes sense, but like were you consciously awake? Like did you know you were Tom? Yeah. Did you know that you were awake?
I couldn't open my eyes. I knew I felt that pressure. I knew I had this overwhelming impending sense of doom.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm going to die if I don't fight. You know what I mean? If I don't fight and try to get awake. And I broke through finally with a woo and made a huge sound, woke my wife up, all kinds of stuff. It was nuts.
You fling the dog across the room.
Yeah.
Then the dog's all suddenly caught by a ghost.
Yeah,
perfect.
It was the dog actually. Yeah. No. Well, that was wonderful, guys. Thank you again. This was so much fun. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Come again next week. We'll have another 12 UFO stories from around the United States. and whatever we will go off the rails with again. So join us again next time.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for Nicole Mystic Whispers at 10 o'clock with her artist Timothy. Going to be a wonderful show then. Tomorrow, catch me again on Chasing Prophecy at 8 o'clock. And then starting at 5 o'clock, Stay Off My Lawn will be airing episodes. So thank you again.
Nice.
Stay weird, everyone, and have a great night.